Everyone having a good semester so far, wrapping up week 4 here, and there is no shortage of things going on as everybody knows. So just a few things that are on my mind as we really get into the heart of the semester here. Always like to mention our Tar Heel sports teams. Our football team is undefeated, field hockey is undefeated, men's soccer is undefeated. I think women's soccer has 1 loss, and I think women's volleyball has 1 loss. So encourage everybody to come out and support the Tar Heels. Was at the Old Well for the first day of classes with all of the freshmen. I'm a freshman myself. Really enjoyed speaking with all of them. You learn a lot about students' hopes and fears when you wait in line with them to take that first sip, and continuing a lot of outreach, a lot of just trying to get around campus and meet folks. We had over at the Chancellor's house last night the Alumni Committee on Racial Equity and Racial and Ethnic Diversity. Met with the Muslim Student Association yesterday, met with Hillel earlier in the week. So continuing those kinds of meetings and outreach. When we last were together, I talked about our working groups on 4 topics to update the strategic plan. Those working groups have now reported back. And, sometimes in the university context, working groups get set up, and what they're supposed to do is issue a report, and then that's the end of the process. But in this case, these working groups, they've issued their reports, and that's just the beginning of the process. Now we have to figure out how we're going to execute. And just as a reminder, the working groups are around enrollment, whether and how we grow given the rapid growth of the state. They're around engineering. We have significant engineering programs now in applied physical science, biomedical engineering, data science, and environmental engineering. Strong demand for those programs. How do we grow? Should they grow? How do they grow? Should we add to them? A lot of discussion around the physical master plan, including some big capital projects, including the translational research building. A lot of press about the possibility of a new arena. Obviously, significant needs when it comes to dormitory space and dining space, housing space. And then the 4th is around AI, which was probably the most important effort. And when I think strategically about what we're doing here, probably the most important thing that we will have to think about and discuss for the foreseeable future. How do we incorporate it into our operations? How do we incorporate it in the classroom? What should our research priorities be? We have really just scratched the surface in thinking about those implications. We reported back to the system office on the new DEI policy. That report was due September 1st. We submitted that. It was accepted by the Board of Governors along with every other system school. Earlier this week, we have an initiative underway on faculty hiring to try to streamline that process. And we've got some important milestones there. One group of pain points is intended to be resolved by November 1st, and the second group by January 1st. So meaningful progress there. And then a lot of time spent on athletics and what's happening with conference realignment with NIL. There's a legal settlement pending. Takes a lot of time, energy, high profile set of discussions. Finally, we are kicking off the budget season. As everybody knows, the student fee advisory subcommittee will finalize proposed fee adjustments this month. Board of Governors, the system office and the Board of Governors will be putting out guidance this month on fees. And then there's a task force on tuition and fees, which will review that guidance and make recommendations to me in the month of October. So that whole process is kicking off underway now. The Board of Governors will review and approve in the January to March timeframe. So a lot of work between now and then. Covered a lot of issues there in a short period of time. Eager to take questions about any of those or anything else that might be on your minds.
Thanks for that, Lee. Questions?
I should mention before, while you're thinking of questions, Shayna Hill spoke to the Board of Governors. I see her on the Zoom here. You know, she is the employee representative, the staff representative to the Board of Governors, to the system on behalf of all staff in all system schools. And in that capacity, presents to the Board of Governors. She did so in Raleigh yesterday, did an excellent job, and really appreciate her service in that context. So thank you.
We appreciate Shayna so very much.
I do have a question. This is Arlene.
Hi, Arlene.
Looking at trying to plan for growth. I know it's a balancing act between deferred maintenance and making sure we have the facilities to handle an increased student population. Any feedback on how that's going to be balanced, or do you already have a plan and it's just too complicated to cover in 5 minutes?
It is a complex topic. So what the working group looked at in terms of enrollment growth, and just to step back for a second, the reason we're even talking about enrollment growth is that we used to enroll about 5% of North Carolina's graduating high school seniors. Now we enroll about 3.5%, 30% drop. So if we don't do anything, that number will continue to fall. And there are good reasons to try to, we're not going to keep pace with North Carolina's population growth, but to at least try to grow incrementally so that that number doesn't continue to fall. And what the working group looked at was a base case scenario of growing by 5,000 undergraduate students over a 10-year period. So it's a meaningful increase over 10 years, but any given year is not especially impactful in terms of our resources for exactly the reasons that you mentioned, because there are significant implications for faculty and staff workload, for our facilities, housing facilities, dining facilities, classroom space, lab space. And so we can't do anything quickly. We need to do it organically and slowly over time, and give our infrastructure across the board an opportunity to keep pace. There are significant implications. You know, we obviously are, even if we just tried to stay, if you take housing as an example, even if we just tried to stay still, we've got plenty of older housing stock, as everybody knows, that we're not going to be able to keep online indefinitely. And so we would need to be investing in new housing even without enrollment growth. And if you add enrollment growth on top of that, it just changes it just makes the need even more significant. So those are the most important factors that go into any enrollment growth decision.
All right, I believe Audrey had a question.
Hi, yes, I'm on the road. Can you guys hear me?
We can. Hi, Audrey.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. My question, so we have seen the numbers come in across the country with the kind of breakdown of student diversity of incoming classes. And while the percentage changes in different minority groups have gone down, it's not incredibly significant at Carolina, but I think, like we've talked about, things in higher education move slow and are part of trends over a decade. How are the conversations, and what conversations are happening around the fact that we've already seen a drop in the diversity of the student population in small percentages, but knowing that that is likely to be a longer term shift?
Yeah, great question. Thanks for bringing that up. So what we've seen is a change in the mix. We've seen some groups drop in their student population. This is for the incoming class. We've seen some go up. But what I think has been true for schools across the country, I think what we've seen at Carolina is roughly similar to what the average school across the country has seen. But what the admissions professionals make a point of saying is that 1 year is 1 year's worth of data is not enough to start drawing long-term conclusions, especially because of a dynamic that is creating significant noise in the numbers, and that was the rollout of the upgraded financial, ostensibly upgraded financial aid process, the federal FAFSA process, which everyone agrees was terribly mishandled. And so that upgraded, the new FAFSA rollout required us and most of our peer institutions to delay our enrollment deadline several times. It meant thousands of students didn't know what their financial aid package would look like, even in some cases with our extended deadlines before we had to have a decision from them. And so nobody really knows the degree to which that FAFSA complication is affecting the numbers. We're pretty sure it is affecting the numbers, but exactly how is hard to know. So that's a long way of saying that we think it's too early to draw any conclusions about the impact in isolation of the Supreme Court decision. We're going to need at least another year's worth of data. I would reiterate that what we saw is brought here at Carolina is broadly similar to what we've seen from peer institutions around the country.
Jacob, you're up next.
Morning. Thank you for taking the time. Just kind of as we're coming up on the anniversary of a particularly difficult time last year, and with the after action report being published about a month or two ago, I just had some questions about some of the advice and where we are in some of those larger processes, particularly centralizing security camera works and stuff like that, because I know that's across multiple different works within facilities. And again, I'm partially more sensitive to it since the second incident happened in the union, which is the building that I'm responsible for. So we've been trying to take steps, but we're not entirely certain what steps the university is taking currently. So it's difficult to do those steps wisely or in sync with the university.
Yeah, great question, Jacob. Thank you. So you're right. The after action report had a number of specific recommendations, which included more cameras in more locations and a better back-end platform that allowed us to see the camera data in real time in one place. We had a legislative appropriation for some of that, a legislative appropriation request for some of that funding. And as you probably know, we haven't actually seen a short session budget. And so we've been trying to make as much progress as we can without the incremental appropriation. We do have the license plate readers installed on campus now, which was another recommendation. And we're in the process of upgrading the camera infrastructure. If you look around, just as you walk around campus, you will see more cameras than were here in the spring. But we're still in the process of getting all the cameras installed and getting them all onto the common platform. It's a work in progress.
I guess if I can drill down a little bit, considering that you also have numerous units that also have currently decentralized security cameras, and I know that we're trying to roll ITSs getting involved in that, as well as Life Safety Shop, as well as Access Control Shop. I did notice that a lot of the ones that went up quickly were the ones mostly around Polk Place. Those were installed very quickly. So I guess my question is there some kind of template? Is there a committee that's in charge of this? Someone that I can reach out to just to see if I can, because I mean, like we've appropriated some stuff within our budget specifically to upgrade and improve our security systems. So I guess I just don't want to put the cart before the horse, because I feel like we've been trying to be as proactive as possible, but given that you guys are working on a larger time scale, I don't want to go ahead and fully park my horse 2 blocks down the road.
Yeah.
Christy, as
so
always, is
I
chiming in with
noticed,
that.
the estimable Christy Hurt has posted in the chat a suggestion to connect you with Derek Kemp, who is working with his team on the camera project, and that you coordinate directly with them.
Awesome. Christy coming up with the knowledge as always. Awesome. Next up, we got Sarah.
Yeah, thanks. As a follow-up kind of to Jacob's question as well, within the context of safety and security, we know cameras are reactionary, right? They're going to watch what happens and then we can make decisions after the fact. Are there similar funds or efforts towards the mental health support, expanding caps, increasing opportunities for faculty, staff, and students to take preventative steps to both manage stress, especially around what will probably be a very volatile November? What's the plan for preventative measures for the campus?
Yeah, indeed. Two parts to that answer. One is we continue to invest in our mental wellness resources around campus. And that's been an ongoing effort for August 28th last year, before the after action report. And the after action report made clear the importance of that continued investment. The second part, though, is coordinating the units around campus. So one thing that comes out loud and clear when you read the after action report is that we could have done a better job connecting the dots of the various parts of our infrastructure, of our enterprise, heard different things about the situation beforehand, and we didn't do as well as we could have, making sure that everybody knew what there was to know. I'd add a third point, which I try to stress with students, is just the importance of publicizing the resources that are available. We've made extraordinary investments. We have more work to do, but it's been a significant funding priority now for a while. And I'm not sure our communications caught up with that necessarily. I think when I have the chance to talk with students in small groups, they generally are not aware of the extent of our resources in this regard. And that obviously goes for staff and faculty as well. There's a pretty broad suite of resources available that we continue to invest in. And so I encourage everyone to avail themselves of what's out there.
Thank you. And yeah, sorry for the follow-ups. But in addition to this, the grad student population, the professional students, which was, where this tragedy started last year, are still making below a living wage for the area. They are very limited in their resources. They have had to demand that we provide a third-party moderators or mediators when they have issues with their supervisors. Is there something specific to graduate students that is being changed or implemented? I hear you when you say we are continuing to support mental health. What I'm wondering is, are we adding to that since we have seen it be insufficient?
Yeah, we are continuing to add to our mental health resources. It remains an investment priority. When you're talking about grad student pay and resources specifically, had this conversation several times with Beth Mayer Davis, the dean of the graduate school. She has a pretty comprehensive plan in place to increase grad student compensation. Some work has been done already. There remains more work to be done, but it's certainly an area of focus, something that we're paying attention to and investing resources in. The other part of that, when it comes to a living wage for the area, is affordable housing. And that's a crucial problem here in Chapel Hill. It's a primary focus of the new mayor, Jess Anderson. As most of you know, she ran on a affordable housing platform. She's an affordable housing expert. We've had really good dialogue with her about how we can help the town in that regard to encourage more affordable housing. There's probably more we can do directly. As some of you know, I come from a real estate finance background. And so I think that's an important piece of the puzzle, is how do we get more affordable housing built in and around campus? And that's, the mayor doesn't have a higher priority, and it's a significant priority for us as well.
And definitely one for staff, I think, too.
And if you look at the comment that Becky just, our head of HR just put in the chat, she's reinforced what I just said about the graduate school's effort in this regard.
Great. Other questions? I did have a question. I had perused some of the reports from other system schools, including our own, related to the new DEI policy implementation. Some system schools I know took different tacks than others, and I saw several schools that had some impact to various identity centers across their campuses. I realized in our FAQ we talked about that our identity centers are going to be maintained and that the programming that they provide will continue. I just wanted to kind of get a sense from your team, kind of reiterating that fact, given there's some other system schools that interpreted the guidance differently. And also, this is a curiosity of mine. The LGBTQ Center, I think, has been without a permanent director for a while, unless I'm mistaken. I checked the website last week and didn't see any update there. And I was curious if there was any movement on finding a permanent director.
So on the first part, I haven't undertaken a comprehensive review of the reports from every system school, but I have talked to a number of other chancellors about their implementation of the system policy. And it's always worth keeping in mind that we are easily the largest, most complex institution in the system. So one statistic I always use in that regard is Keenan Flagler is our third largest academic unit, and it's bigger than half of the campuses in the UNC system. And so implementation of any system-wide policy is always going to look different, more involved, more complex here at Chapel Hill than other system schools. But the other part of that, and I think this is another difference, is that in talking with chancellors about this over the past year or so, I think other schools had begun, at least in some instances, begun implementing changes to their DEI structure in advance of the system policy being promulgated. There had been a lot of talk about it, and so they started making moves, not all of which show up in their DEI report, because in the report back to the system office, because they happened over a longer period of time. We hadn't really done that. We waited, as you all know, until we saw the policy, saw the system guidance, and then did everything in a relatively short period of time.
Great. And maybe Becky or someone else on the team could point us in the right direction. Is there a search in place for the next
Oh,
permanent?
I'm sorry, I forgot
you're
about the
fine.
second part of the question, and I don't know the answer. So maybe there's somebody else on the.
I know we've had an interim for a while. I just wasn't sure if there was any progress on a permanent position.
I admit I haven't looked at it. I'll take a look.
Thank you. Other questions for Chancellor Roberts?
What's your favorite flavor of LaCroix?
This one, actually, the Raz Cranberry, although the Pamplemousse is also really, really strong.
Solid answer. Thank you, Chancellor.
The hard-hitting questions today.
Yeah.
Sarah, you have another question.
I'm curious about, I have not heard, so this is really just coming out of like nowhere, but I read that there was a campus-wide like working group or committee or something. Can you give us an update? What happened with that? What was the goal? What did they decide? Just anything on that?
Yeah, so the Good question. Thank you. We did set up a working group just to review the campus-wide generally usage, hours, access. That group is co-chaired by Richard Stevens, former chair of the Board of Trustees and former Chancellor Measer, and has a group of folks involved, including everybody involved cares a lot about the Y. They're either alums who were involved heavily with the Y when they were students here. A lot of them continue to be involved with the Y as alums. We have students, we have the director of the Y, and they have come back with a draft report. Their deadline was November 1st, and they did their work quickly. We just got it back. We're evaluating the recommendations, so stay tuned.
Great. Kaylee, you had a comment in the chat. I don't know if you wanted to bring that forward as a question.
Which one?
I'm happy to.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily in a place where I can turn my camera on, but
That's
I
totally
will
fine.
I will ask my question. So I was perusing the report that came out about the changes enacted at UNC-Chapel Hill for the DEI initiatives. And one of the ones that surprised me and a couple of my coworkers was the elimination of the Office of Rural Initiatives. And so from my understanding, and I could be incorrect, I thought the office aimed to educate, train, and retain primary care physicians. So I wasn't exactly sure why that office and the director and program coordinator and administrative assistant were all eliminated.
At the medical school, I'm just reading your comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it was listed at the medical school.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you had an answer to that. I just
gotta
thought
tell
it
you, Kelly, that's
surprising.
a level of detail that I'm afraid I don't have. I will tell you generally, I understand the premise of your question, and we've been very clear that in general, the centers, so the Stone Center, the Asian American Student Center, the LGBTQ Center, those all remain intact. They're not affected by the policy. And just glancing over your question quickly, I understand where you're coming from, but I'm afraid I don't know enough about that specific initiative to be able to tell you the answer there. Maybe there's somebody else on the.
I can go back and look at the documents and some of my notes from the earlier conversations we had with the medical school. Some of what the medical school did was downsize some program or eliminate some programs and create new ones that were more broadly focused and encompassing, meaning lots of the programming, particularly if I recall correctly on this initiative, would remain, but would be part of a bigger office. I can go back and check on that one to confirm, but I don't know that it is just that it's a elimination in the way you're reading it.
Okay, well, that would be great. I think that's one of the problems with some of these reports is that there's so much detail, and when you see eliminated, then it's hard to find how it was reabsorbed or repurposed in another office.
Yeah, and I think that's really important to understand that the deans, and we met with every dean in talking, or every school or college and their leadership, to sort of sit down and talk about how they could ensure compliance with the regulation, but also that we continue to be a place where everybody can bring their full selves to teach and learn and work at Carolina. And the idea was that according to the regulation, programs that are educational in purpose or research in purpose would not change or were not impacted, but really that we would do more to ensure that we're providing similar opportunities to everyone. And that I have to give tremendous kudos to the deans and their teams for thinking really thoughtfully about how they can ensure that we're both meeting the expectations of the regulations, but also ensuring that we are a place for everyone at Carolina, and that we're actually embracing a broader definition of diversity than we perhaps had previously been doing.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that comment.
Liz, and then I had another question from the chat.
Hey, Becky, I really appreciate that. I am a small department. I'm ophthalmology, but I've already had two, and I operate a small component, but I've already had two pre-meds that are dedicated to wanting to serve their home communities, which are in an eye healthcare desert. So I appreciate what you're saying so much. I think this is worth tracking. It's not just that we want to attract the talent, and it's not just that we want to make it a safe and diverse space for learners. I also want to support those learners as they graduate as a resource for the state. And if we are focused on making sure we're enrolling and providing opportunities to enroll a wide range of high school students from across Carolina, I don't want that to just be a bullet on a, yeah, look what we did page. I want it to really mean a lot from start to finish for those young professionals. And I mean, it's come up in my tiny little village in ophthalmology a significant number of times.
Your point is well taken. And I think,
Great point.
I don't want to speak for the chancellor, but I think we all agree. We want to make sure that we're providing opportunities for both while people are here and as they graduate and continue to contribute to the state and beyond. And I see Matthew's comment in the chat, and I do believe, if I recall correctly, that is right. And this is another example of the way our partnership with UNC Health and the School of Medicine continue to, we work closely together. And here in this case, I think that's right. The program doesn't disappear. It just moves through underneath the leadership of UNC Healthcare.
Yeah.
There's also, I mean, I completely echo what Becky said. There's an effort underway among, when it comes to rural health in particular, among the 5 healthcare deans to bring a more coordinated response to provision of rural health in North Carolina, which is a really important effort. We can coordinate our resources and our capacities much more effectively. We've talked to legislators about, we've talked to foundations about it. It's like everything that requires coordination across multiple schools. It's not going to happen overnight, but it has the potential to be really significant over time.
I think we have time for one more question. I think Jay had a question in the chat.
Chancellor, I appreciate your time. I know we want to stay out of legal issues as much as possible, but the GOP is suing the Board of Elections to keep UNC students from using their mobile one card as voter ID. What are we going to do to no matter what side of the aisle you're on, to ensure that students aren't disenfranchised?
Yeah, Jay, thank you. That is a hot off the press issue. I just learned about it last night from our general counsel. I have not had a chance to speak with him in depth about our response, but we're certainly aware of it. So thank you.
Yeah, great question. Any final thoughts? Well, as always, we really appreciate you being with us, Lee. Thanks for taking the time and addressing all our questions, and looking forward to having you back soon.
Thank you very much. Appreciate everyone's time on this forum. Appreciate you volunteering your time to serve the university. Hope everyone has a terrific weekend. Thanks very much.
Happy Friday. All right, next up, we've got a couple special presentations. First up, we've got Emergency Management Coordinator Justin Miller here to talk to us a little about the Emergency Preparedness Festival next week. So thanks for being with us, Justin. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank Chair Musgrove and the Employee Forum body for providing me with the time on today's agenda. Your support of our campus emergency preparedness mission is truly appreciated. So I'm excited to be here today to talk about this event. I just threw a link in the chat for us, and I'll go ahead and I'm going to share screen real quick.
Perfect.
So this is an event I've wanted to plan for a long time, and I'm thrilled to finally have the ability to do so. So next Thursday, September 19th, we are having our next Emergency Preparedness Festival. This date falls on the International Talk Like a Pirate Day. So naturally, our theme will be pirates, and we will ask our campus community, are you ready? If you attended the 2022 Zombie Preparedness Festival, the layout and the event will be very similar. We have 24 campus, local, state, and federal partners all attending to share a broad range of emergency preparedness information with our campus community. There will be on the website, it will list what all those exhibitors are in the demonstrations. Several demonstrations will be available, including a DWI and distracted driving simulator, fire extinguisher use, CPR, and our main demonstration event will be igniting the state's sprinkler trailer in Polk Place. So this sprinkler trailer demonstrates, fire spread and how effective sprinklers can be. And that demonstration will be at approximately 12:15 in Polk Place. So if you haven't seen that trailer, I recommend you come out at 12:15 to definitely see that. We invite you all to come out and learn more about emergency preparedness resources on campus and in our community. And you may even recognize some pirate actors roaming the pit from this employee forum body themselves. So we are hoping for no rain, but if we do have a rain location back in the Great Hall Union. So please do come out next Thursday. Everyone, we want a lot of people to come out and have fun with our event. Our makeup artist we do have on board has worked on one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, so we're going to have some good work out there, some good looking pirates. So that's all.
Very
Challenge yourself
exciting.
to
And
be,
I'm
are you
gonna
ready?
personally put in a pitch to next year have the Barbie theme. Like, I feel like we're missing out on just a massive pop culture moment to like have a Barbie themed emergency preparedness festival.
I will have to work with you on that one to how to make that one work. But that's all I have on the event. I hope you all come out. It's gonna be an engaging event to learn more about all of our resources here on campus.
Excellent. Well, thanks for coming out and sharing information. Any questions for Justin about the event next week? I will say the forum is always excited to send out actors to your event. It's always a fun time. So come out and join us. And also, I really appreciate your team, Justin, reaching out and involving the forum in some feedback around developing staff training related to the after action report. I know instructor training came out, and we're busily working on the staff version, and we're glad to have some employee forum voices contributing to some feedback on that staff training. So thank you for your team's help on that.
And I'd say come get a picture with a selfie with a fellow employee forum pirate. There are a few of us here. So come get a selfie. Maybe we'll share them at the next meeting.
I love it. Excellent. Well, thanks, Justin. We appreciate you. And you're always welcome to come back anytime.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Our next special presentation is one of my favorite human beings, a unicorn of a human being. Dawn Osborne-Adams is here with us to talk about the University Ombuds Office and her amazing team. I think might be with us too. I know I see Victoria. I don't know if Josh was with us, but welcome to the Ombuds Office. We're always super glad to hear from you and hear from the great work your team does on campus.
There we go. Thank you so much, Katie. I always wish that you gave me a little bit less of an introduction so people would be pleasantly surprised. Would think, oh, I think she's actually better than you said. Now I have this high bar and I don't know if I can meet it. Unicorn is like,
you always
pretty high.
Raise the bar.
All right. So hi, everybody. I am happy to be here with you. I think the last time I look back, I think the last time I was here was in March 2023. So I see a lot of familiar faces, but I also see some new faces. So I'm going to use this time to talk a little bit about what our office does for those people who are maybe new to the university, new to the forum. And I also want to leave time for some questions. Katie, how much time do I have? Uh-oh, you're muted.
You have as much time as you need, but we have some flexibility, I would say until like 10:15.
Be careful what you say, because Victoria will tell you I can talk. So I'm going to try to keep it brief. And Victoria, you're laughing too hard. I'm going to try to keep it brief. I'm going to share the slides. I'm really happy to be here with you. I want to leave time for questions, so I'm going to move through the slides somewhat quickly. I also have a short video to show, so we're going to mix things up a little bit. Let me see if I can, hold on a second, see. Get these slides in a format where I can see the slides and I can see you. How does that look? That looks good? Okay.
Looks great.
All right, very good. I can't see all the faces, so if somebody has a question while I'm talking, Katie, I ask for your help, Victoria's help, whoever can help me if there's hands. So I titled this a trustworthy resource for challenging moments, because that's really at the heart of what we endeavor to do, is to be an office of trustworthy people on campus who people can turn to when they run into a problem in their work life, study at the university. I have a dear colleague and friend who, whenever he's asked, well, how do you build trust? His answer is, well, just be trustworthy. That's the way to build trust. And so that's at the heart of what we try to do. We work at it, and it's up to all of you to decide whether or not you trust us, but we work hard at it. I'm Dawn Osborne-Adams, the University Ombuds, and I'll introduce you to the rest of the team through these slides in a moment. But first, I want to share our mission statement, which helps, I think, to frame what this job, this office with a very strange name actually does. The name doesn't tell you anything. And so I'm not going to read this, but I'll talk about each paragraph just a little bit. This first paragraph really highlights that we serve everybody on campus with any issue related to the university. So you can imagine the scope of what comes into the office. And to be honest with you, with 3 people, I think the scale of the university is a little bit of a challenge for us. Josh is not here because he's working. And at the same time, it's so important to have a place on campus where people don't have to ask, can I go there? Or can this issue be brought there? They can just come and receive the care that they need. The second paragraph goes to really the heart of what we do and how we do it, and that's consultations with people in groups who come into the university. We follow a set of ethical principles. If you clicked on that link, you would go to our professional association that talks about us being confidential and informal, which describes our office as a place where you can share almost anything without having to worry that it's going to be repeated or it's going to trigger some obligation on us to do something. It's probably important at this juncture to remind everyone that we remain a confidential resource, given that all employees are now responsible employees, that ombuds, working in our roles as ombuds, we are still confidential. That's important to remind you. And as ombuds, we're both independent and impartial. And so that independence means our connection is to the Chancellor's office, that we're not aligned with or budgetarily or operationally connected to any of the units or divisions. And so hopefully that gives us the benefit of distance and helps us to be impartial, helps us to be able to stand in the middle with the person and say, okay, we want to help you see the whole 360 around you and leave the decision-making up to you about what you want to do. The last paragraph talks about some of the other things we do. So we consult with individuals and groups. We do some education. We'll do workshops on topics that we feel like we have some expertise and learning to share, things like conflict management, how to navigate problems, communication, how to engage in important conversations. And then we also do some facilitation. When the circumstances are right, we will facilitate discussion, conversation, communication between 2 people, 3, more people, a whole team of people, where we're able to act as a designated neutral and someone with facilitation skills to be able to help people to structure a conversation and hear each other a little bit better. And then finally, that's kind of the meta idea at the last part of this paragraph of we're really trying to support everybody at every level and the system itself to be, and maybe I'll invoke the words that birthed us, a better place to work. We came out of the Chancellor's Task Force for a Better Workplace. So I am going to move on from this. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. One important thing that has happened since the last time I was here is the university and the Ombuds office have developed a charter for our office, which puts into writing all the things that I just told you. You know, what authority we have, what authority we don't have, what the expectations are from our office, the university's commitment to the principles that I just outlined, which has always been the case. That's always been honored, but it was never, as many things, Carolina, it was never in writing. And now it is, it's available on our website. And that's a pretty big and important development, I think, for the university and for our office. So what do you expect if you come to the Ombuds office? This is what's going to happen. If you say, oh, I have an issue I want to discuss with Ombuds office, you're going to come, you're going to have to hear some version of what I just said again. We're going to talk about our professional ethics so that everybody understands, almost as a matter of informed consent before they start talking, what the rules of engagement are, what the guardrails are. We're going to listen to you for as long as it takes to understand what life looks like from where you stand. We'll help you frame the issue. We'll talk for a long time about what's important to you and what your goals are. And we'll help you think about every possible option for addressing whatever issue it is and moving towards the goals that you have. And then at the end, we call people who come to our office visitors. At the end, you will decide on what, if anything, makes sense to do. And so we don't represent or advocate for individuals, nor for the university, and we don't make decisions for individuals or the university. And that's a pretty, it's a challenging, but also a very privileged place to be. This is a little bit about our utilization. So we are working with a new data platform. And so I hope that the next time I come, I'll probably have kind of more robust information to share with you. But last fiscal year, we had 236 case consultations for the first half of the year. Our average is usually about 500. I think that we'll 450 to 500. And that's just consultations. I think we'll get over that for this past fiscal year. 45% staff, 22% faculty. We used to have only staff, faculty, students, and other was the way we measured it. But now we've taken administrators out. And I think those administrators, many of them previously would have been in the faculty category. So that's why the numbers look a little bit different. And then students and other is postdocs, alums, parents, anybody who's not in those first categories. 32 outreach events and educational workshops. And we touch every single division and school. And we have for the last several years. And I'm pretty proud of that, like I said, because of the scale. So you're wondering, how do you all do all of that? This is how we do it. With these three, I don't think I can call myself amazing, but with this amazing team, maybe that's what it is. I'll call Josh and Victoria amazing. So I have the privilege of working with Josh Canzona and Victoria Dowd. Like I said, Victoria is here, and I put up these office rules. If you ever come into our office, we have a blackboard when you walk in the door, and we always have something different on the blackboard, courtesy of Victoria. And she put these office rules up, which I think are probably good rules for every office. And I'd say this is how we try to operate in our office, but we have a small, but you know, it's a little cliche, but it is a small but mighty team, because as you see that we do a lot with what we have. We're on Franklin Street. People can meet with us in person, by Zoom, by phone. We really try to put individuals at the center, prioritize access. We have very robust lives, and so we try to have a work-life balance. And at the same time, the university is a small city, and so we work with people at times outside of regular business hours if they need. And the most important thing is this is a benefit. I would encourage you to see our office as employees, to see it as a benefit to you that the university provides. It's free and it's also voluntary. And so I would say make use of us as a resource and as a benefit. And then a few updates and reminders. So we are turning 20 years old. So we're going to have a party in May of next year. Our office opened its doors, and you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, Victoria, May 5th of 2004, is that right? 2005, sorry, May 5th of 2005. I can't do math myself. Okay, so we're turning 20. We're gonna have a party. Look for that, and we want to see as many people as we can to celebrate that longevity and the impact of this office long before I landed, and through the time that I've been here on campus. Our website is having a glow up, so we're doing a whole refresh to our website, and the most exciting part of that is we're going to have a resource library. For those people who, for whatever reason, don't want to have a consultation, there will still be resources for you to help you think about how to address the challenging moments that you encounter on campus. Spread the word. So as delegates, you know, what you've heard here, please take it back and push it out into your areas. If you want to ask me for the slides, if you want a smaller slide, whatever it is, please ask us, or you can invite us into your unit. There's something on our website that you can click, a button that you can ask us to come in, and we can even do a very short outreach presentation. You know, we really want to be able to engage with campus. We also have a poster. We will have a poster very soon that you can hang in your unit. So call Victoria if you want to get that poster, and we'll send you a poster that you can hang in a unit. I know that some people who are in areas where there's students and graduate students like to have the information there presented beyond just the small cards you might get to give to a single person. And then finally, Ombuds Day is October 10th. Victoria and Josh will be, I'll be out of town. Victoria and Josh will be in the Carolina Union. Stop by and see them. It'll be on the university calendar, but that's a global day that is intended to raise awareness of the Ombuds role. And I think it's a moment for Ombuds also to kind of celebrate themselves, and so much of our work is done in the shadows. And so I have these final words of wisdom, and then I'm going to show this video, and then I'll take questions. I think this video is far more wise than anything that I could say. And I've shown it to lots of different people on campus, including to, senior leadership, to units I've been to. And part of the reason I show this is that I've noticed, as I'm sure have all of you, that I think probably beginning with the pandemic, people just have a lot less bandwidth. Everybody's kind of trying to get through. And I think so many people who come to our office, they come with a problem, or often problems or challenges, things they perceive as obstacles. And they're trying to figure, like, how do I get through this, is a lot of what they're interested in. So this video addresses that in a way of that, life has conflicts and obstacles that we all have to figure out how to get through. So I'm going to play this and then we'll chat. So I'm hoping that this will work, that the volume and everything will work. Let's see. Can you all hear that?
No, Dawn, my suggestion is to stop sharing your screen and then reshare. But before you hit share, there's a little checkbox at the bottom that you have to check to share your audio.
Yes, yes. Okay, we're going to do it this time. You can see that?
We can see it.
Okay.
And system
We
thinking.
can hear it. Perfect.
We use system thinking to make sense of our products and research questions.
How do you survive whole in a world where we're all victims of something? It's to both of you.
How do you survive whole? I can't do this quickly, Juan.
Okay.
How can you survive whole and where we're victims of something? That's a nice, big, fat, Eastern, Western philosophical question about how do you get through? Sometimes you don't survive whole, you just survive in part. But the grandeur of life is that attempt. It's not about that solution. It is about, being as fearless as one can and behaving as beautifully as one can under completely impossible circumstances. It's that makes it elegant. Good is just more interesting, more complex, more demanding. Evil is silly. It may be horrible, but at the same time, it's not a compelling idea. It's predictable. It needs a tuxedo, it needs a headline, it needs blood, it needs fingernails, it needs all that costume in order to get anybody's attention. But the opposite, which is survival, blossoming, endurance, those things are just more compelling intellectually, if not spiritually, and they certainly are spiritually. This is more fascinating job. We are already born. We are going to die. So you have to do something interesting that you respect in between.
That was wild. I like it.
That's it.
So I hope you all enjoyed that. That video always inspires me, in part just because of the way Toni Morrison speaks, if we could all be so eloquent, and in part because it's a reminder that even while we're in organizations that do owe us something and that we are all working to make the organization better, it's a reminder, I think, of our personal power in any given moment as well. All right, so I'm going to stop talking and ask, does anybody else have anything to say? I will take questions, comments, suggestions. I'm even open to constructive criticism. Whatever anybody wants to say, I'm open to hearing.
We've had several requests for the link to that video. So if you wouldn't mind either sharing that, I think the slides had the link in it, or just the link, that would be awesome. Keith, you have your hand up.
I do have my hand up. Hello, Dawn.
Well, hello. I saw you cutting up in the chat.
No. No. Maybe just a little. First of all, I adore you all in your office. We all know that. So I was in and out doing some things, So you said that you all do retain, even though we're all responsible employees now, you all still retain the confidentiality portion of it?
We do. And so the way that it's been framed for confidential resources is that when you're acting in your confidential role as an ombuds or as counselor or whatever it is, that you are a confidential employee. So an exception to that would be, I can't be a confidential employee for Victoria and Josh as my employees, right? I'm not in an ombuds role with them. I teach a class at the law school. I'm not in a confidential role as an instructor in that course, but as an ombuds, I am in a confidential role. It does not change.
Okay, thank you. Because when
you're
that
welcome.
first came out, you all were the first thought on my mind. And now I'm just at the point where I'm just telling people, I cannot be your friend. We cannot talk. Don't tell me anything. I don't want to know. I mean, I kind of do want to know, but I really don't want to know. But okay, that's all I needed. Thank you. Bless you. So glad to see you. And you too, Victoria. I love you.
So you can add too, don't talk to me. You can then also add, you talk to the ombuds office once you've told them not to talk to you. I mean, it's funny, not funny, but it really is. I think it's so important for people to know that there are still places where they can go and have conversations. So thank you so much for asking that, Keith.
Rebecca.
Thank you. And good to see you all.
Good to see you.
But I think one of the things I've referred folks to the Ombuds office a couple of times, and one of the questions that does come up is every one of us that works here at the university is also just a member of the broader community and has friendships and other relationships with other people on campus. And what do you and your office do to ensure that confidentiality, that independence is ensured while talking with you about a concern about somebody that you may know in the community in a different way? And how can I share that with folks that I might be referring to your office to make them feel more comfortable about approaching your office?
Mm-hmm. So I appreciate the question. It's kind of it goes to the tightrope of ombuds as both humans and as kind of insider outsiders who are in an organization and part of it, but part of it in a different way. And so my response to that would be that we all take our ethical principles very seriously. And I don't think any of us, we're very conscious about actual conflicts of interest, and I think perceived conflicts of interest. And I think all of us really try to manage the relationships we have with people on campus for those to be professional relationships. And so that doesn't mean that we might not have lunch with someone. But anytime I'm with somebody on this campus, I myself am very aware I am still the ombuds. I am never not the ombuds. And so I don't know if that helps at all. But there's an awareness on our part about boundaries is really the question you're asking about boundaries.
Yes, thank you. And I mean, that's exactly what I did share. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't, other ways that I could share that. So that's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate the question because it also, I'll share, it goes, at least for me, to attention that I have, people who know me, I wouldn't call myself an extrovert because I do need my own time, but I like people, right? I mean, I like to talk and, connect with people. And there are some purists in our field that would say you should sit in your office and you don't engage with anybody on campus doing anything other than your work as ombuds. And I can't live like that. And so I just have to hope that in all ways I'm trustworthy enough that people will see that even if I'm, they see me out talking with somebody, that they'll know that I understand and honor the boundaries that I have in this role.
Thank you so much.
Audrey had a question.
Hi, I'm trying to, so a while ago, I had a direct report who I perceived as struggling both like in her role and also navigating the place like as a young professional. And I'm hoping to get some clarity on like how your office, like what types of like conflicts or concerns you handle, because in my situation, it seems like working with like university HR and my department's HR was the only option, and maybe I just didn't do a good enough job of my own investigation, but like getting a sense of the resources available that like I could have or should have provided, and if like a situation like that is a good use of your team's like talents and time.
Okay, okay, Audrey, I appreciate this question because it's lots of questions in one. And so I want to kind of decouple them a little bit. So one of them is around, do we have resources to help somebody in that situation? And the answer to that would be yes, in part because what we do is we help people untangle and frame the issue. So often someone comes here with one issue. I have a conflict with my supervisor. But it ends up being, actually, I need mentorship, and I may not get it from my supervisor or in my unit, but the Ombuds office might be able to help me with a plan for how I might get it elsewhere, either inside of the university or outside of it. And part of our mandate is to try to be as familiar as we can with the structure, resources, dynamics of the rest of the university so that we can help people connect themselves to others who would be helpful to them. So that's one piece of it. Another piece of it is about referrals. You didn't ask me this, but it kind of flags it for me about how do you refer someone who may hear what you're saying as a directive? How do you refer them to the Ombuds office? And so what I would say about that is I would encourage all supervisors to make sure that people are aware of the Ombuds office before there's a problem. That's one way to do it so that people have the information themselves. And another way to do it is just offer the Ombuds office as a resource. You can't send anybody here, but you can say, this will be a good place to have a conversation, even to help you make the most of other resources, offices, offerings on campus. Because I think people can talk in a way here that's maybe more candid, more full. They can say things here that they might not say other places in services to when they do plug back in to the organization, they have a more kind of thoughtful, defined, and actionable request of whomever they're talking with. Does that answer your question, Audrey?
Yes, that's really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We've had several shout outs to the orange utensil set that several folks have received from the Ombuds office several years ago. So shout outs to that awesome swag.
Best swag we ever bought. Come see us at the Employee Engagement Fair or Employee Appreciation Day also. So the thing I am not good at all is talking and also watching the chat. So I don't know if there are any other questions there.
Watching, and I don't think so.
I'm monitoring it too, Katie, and I've actually responded back. So I'm building the list for the poster.
I love it.
People are requesting a poster, so I got a list going.
I love it. See, Victoria is on the case always.
All-star team, for sure.
I'd say. Any other questions, comments? Well, thank you. It was wonderful to be back, and stop me and say hey if you see me around campus.
Always good to see you in Victoria, and we missed Josh this time around, but we'll look forward to seeing him next time. So thank you all to your team and for everything you do here at the university. We appreciate you so much. All right, folks, moving on to the next portion of our agenda. We've got our trustee human resources updates. I see Becky is with us. I'm surprised to see her. I heard she wasn't going to be here, but I love it. Becky.
Good morning, everyone. Indeed, I'm sitting over at the Chase Dining Hall. I've got to run upstairs to the ACRED meeting here in just a second. But I wanted to say hello. I've been out for a little over a month and haven't had an opportunity to see all of you. So happy school year. Big thanks to Dawn on her comments about Ombuds. As part of Keith's comment, he noted the responsible employee training. Many of you also likely received the full preventing discrimination and harassment training. I'm sure when that came through, some of you groaned heavily, noted that it's a very long training. I know, we know. I'll tell you what I've been telling everybody else. That is a long training. It's an important part of our responsibility as a community to ensure people understand how to report discrimination and harassment and what happens. It's also a requirement under our federal obligations. And historically, we have worked with an outside company to provide this training. Over the course of the last several years, that there have been a number of private equity companies that have purchased the various entities that have provided this training. And that has made it a little harder for us to control the training. But we've worked with outside companies in large part because they've been able to keep up with the changes in this environment more rapidly than we can. I think we're at the time where that's going to change. So we're wrapping up our contract with that outside company, and we will move to an in-house solution next year. So ideally, next year's version will be a little shorter, but it will be, and we'll probably a little bit more tailored to Carolina. But in the meantime, please bear with us. Please take the time to fill out, to complete that training. It's a really important part of our commitment to ensuring we have a campus free from discrimination and harassment. And it takes all of us to do that. So while the Ombuds is a remarkable spot, and I hope we'll continue to encourage people to go there, for those who do wish to report through university resources, these tools will also remind you how to do so, such that if we have cases of discrimination and harassment that we can address through disciplinary action or training or other resources, we can do so. Link is going to provide some updates on some of the events coming up, including that employee appreciation, which will get you know how to get access to those silverware kits from the Ombuds office, as well as another bunch of fun stuff. I'm going to jump upstairs, but I want to thank you all for your continued service to the university and to the employee forum. And I hope to see you in person out at the employee appreciation or at some of the other upcoming events in the coming weeks and months. And
Thanks,
go
Becky.
Heels.
We're glad to have
Cheers.
you back. Key question for you. Does
Yeah.
that new training mean that there's going to be new scenarios that we're not going to hear the life? I feel like I know the life story of all of these scenarios.
We'll have some new scenarios. Yes.
Excellent.
Yes, I promise you that. And maybe we didn't prep for this, but Link, when you're talking, given some of the questions about employee training, you may want to give a brief update on some of the new training that we're going to provide, particularly for newer supervisors. So I'm going to pass it off to Link and he can jump in and talk a little bit about that. Thanks again, everybody.
Thanks, Becky.
Cheers.
Thanks, Becky. And good morning, everyone. My camera is not cooperating this morning, so apologies for leaving it off. If anybody is happy that Becky is back, it is me. So anyway, good to be with you all this morning. We do have a couple of events coming up. The first being the 25 plus service appreciation breakfast, which is going to be Wednesday, October 9th from 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. at the Carolina Club. You'll be seeing some communication about that as that is related to the RSVP. The deadline for RSVPing is September 16th, which is rapidly approaching. In addition to that, in October, it's Employee Appreciation Day again, Friday, October 18th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's going to feature, of course, various departments and local businesses showcasing their goods and services. We are doing a taco bar this year for the meal, which I'm very excited about. And we have a new vendor for caricature renderings who can complete them in under a minute, which is pretty amazing. And we're addressing some of the previous feedback that we've gotten about long wait times. Pelicans will be back this year, along with inflatables, bull riding, field goal, cornhole. The deadline to RSVP for the expo is Wednesday, September 16th. So that's coming up as well. I'm sorry, mixing that up. Don't pay no attention to the RSVP information there. Carolina Tar Heel Tribute is also coming up October 30th from noon to 2 p.m. This event, of course, honors the contributions of staff, faculty, and students who have served our country or are currently serving in the military within the Carolina community. It's going to feature some networking opportunities, a POW MIA tribute, lunch, and a keynote address by Secretary Greer Martin of the North Carolina Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. So again, very powerful and meaningful event that's coming up to honor our veterans and those who are serving in the military currently. Going back to what Becky shared about some of the training, we're going to have our organizational professional development team come perhaps next month to get on the agenda to talk about Lead Well, which is a leadership and manager and supervisory training program that we are launching this fall, which we're very excited about. Again, what we want to try and do is be more proactive about building skills amongst our managers and supervisors from the get-go, as opposed to being more reactive in terms of the training and offerings we provide. As some of you are very familiar, we do have our BEST supervisory training, which is kind of our supervisory and management 101 sort of course. Then on the other bookend, we have our ULEAD program, and this I think plugs the gap sort of in the middle there. So we're looking forward to providing that, and we're going to be offering that this fall. Again, I'll bring our organizational professional development team back next month to talk a little bit more about that for the group. With that being said, I also want to leave some time for Joe Williams, who's here with us today, as well as Jessica Pygus. Joe is it's that time of year again, to talk to you a little bit about open enrollment. So Joe, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Welcome, Joe.
Hey, good to see everyone. Thank you so much for giving me a few minutes to talk about open enrollment. Obviously, the open enrollment time for my team and my office, it's like our Super Bowl. So we've been like preparing, practicing, like we are ready, very excited about it too. So this morning, I'm going to share my screen with you because I just want to share some information, and I'm going to refer you all kind of to our wonderful open enrollment website. Let me get it shared here. So how do you kind of get to where we're going? If you just Google search and put UNC benefits, it's going to get you to this benefit, leave, and total well-being page, which is our home page. Then if you just scroll down just a little bit, here's our open enrollment link. Open enrollment September 30th through October 25th. So you'll note this is 4 weeks of fun that we'll be having during our open enrollment period. Let me click on this link, and then we're going to kind of talk through what open enrollment is going to look like this year, some changes. We'll talk about Aetna, which is sort of the elephant in the room, perhaps, just so because a lot of people are kind of concerned about Aetna and switching from Blue Cross Blue Shield to Aetna. So again, September 30th through October 25th. This is that kind of once a year opportunity to make changes to your benefits. You can add, delete, add family members, those types of things, remove family members to your benefits without any kind of qualifying life event. Any changes you make during the open enrollment period, of course, go into effect on January 1. Now, on our open enrollment website, we've really worked very hard with our HR comms team to really kind of make things very concise. Rather than having like 55 pages of information, we've really condensed it down just to kind of give you those things that you really need. So this is where you'll be able to kind of click just to sort of see, the plans, kind of what's new, how to enroll, a little bit of information about the tobacco attestation, and just some general help. We'll come back to these buttons, but also want to just sort of mention about we're going to be doing some kind of campus-wide Zoom sessions, very similar to what I'm doing here, but to talk about the state health plan, also to talk about the change with Aetna in the state health plan, and then just open enrollment in general. Monday is the 16th at 3 p.m. and then Friday the 20th at 2 p.m. Next up, I want to talk about Aetna, because again, this is probably the big thing that we're getting like the most questions, the most reactions to, and there just seems to be kind of a lot of maybe anxiety about this switch. And maybe it's because the state health plan has been with Blue Cross Blue Shield for 20 plus years. And so people are just a little nervous about the change. Well, let me kind of say it this way and frame it in a way perhaps that might help alleviate some of the pain points or some of the stress that you're feeling. First is that the state health plan is not changing. The state health plan is a self-funded health insurance plan. It is under the purview of the state treasurer's office. The state health plan has its own board of trustees. Those board of trustees are the ones that set the plan, all that is in the plan as far as what's covered, what's not covered, how much things are paid, premium costs. All of that is all determined by the state health plan, not by Blue Cross Blue Shield, not by Aetna. And so some of the anxiety I've heard, about Aetna is, oh, I hear Aetna doesn't pay very well for claims. Well, again, Aetna has nothing to do with how well it's going to pay for a claim. That's the state health plan. And again, that's the kind of thing that is not changing. What is changing with the Blue Cross Blue Shield moving to Aetna is that Blue Cross Blue Shield provides kind of that behind the scenes support. They, of course, handle all the claims processing, the member ID cards, the network of providers, all of those things. And so Aetna will be now assuming all of those responsibilities for helping the state health plan to sort of run. Now, going forward in this open enrollment, one of the things that you'll be asked to do as you're making your decisions about your health insurance, you of course will know over the years, everyone defaults to the 70-30 plan. So everyone's kind of put in the 70-30 plan if you are in the state health plan. Now we get a lot of people that say, but I'm not on the state health plan. Am I being put into the 70-30 plan? No. If you're in the plan now, and as we're going into open enrollment, everyone again defaults for January 1 to the 70-30 plan. So if you want the 80-20 plan, you have to take some action during open enrollment. You also, of course, will need to do the tobacco attestation, which is a simple question, basically, do you use tobacco products? And again, if you answer no, then you're going to pay kind of the normal premiums. If you answer yes, I'm a tobacco user, you're going to pay $60 more a month due to a tobacco use surcharge. You could also answer a question that says, I'm a tobacco user, but I'm willing to do a tobacco cessation visit with a primary care provider. As long as you do that visit by November 30th, all is well. You don't pay $60 more. Now, under this Aetna piece, as you're doing your open enrollment in the health insurance part, you'll be going to the state enrollment portal through Connect Carolina Self-Service My Benefits, and you're going to be asked to list your primary care provider. Now, of course, because we're changing from Blue Cross Blue Shield to Aetna, there's going to be a link that will link you into the Aetna system to pick your primary care provider. And this is sort of new, of course, this year because Aetna doesn't know who your primary care provider is because Aetna has a network, Blue Cross Blue Shield has a network. Now, over 98% of all providers in the Blue Cross Blue Shield network are already in the Aetna network. So, I mean, that's kind of a given. More and more every day are coming into the Aetna network because they want this book of business. They want to be able to participate with the state health plan as an in-network provider. So you will want to, of course, select your primary care provider. We get questions about, well, why do I need to do that? The big reason is you get to save some money. So you pay a much less copay if you're seeing your primary care provider, as long as it's listed and printed on that ID card that you'll get going forward now with Aetna. So again, there's some money savings if you select that primary care provider. So that's kind of about Aetna. I want to help alleviate, and my kind of little tagline is, this is really kind of a non-event. It seems like a big deal, but it's really not the big deal that, some folks are unfortunately worried about. Now, let me go back to our buttons up here and let me click on the benefit plans and kind of the what's new. So again, some of the things that you'll want to know about in this section, you can certainly click away. There's open enrollment materials about the state health plan. Certainly new, we talked about the Aetna plan. There are no rate increases again for 2025, which is wonderful. No increase in copays, no increase in deductibles. 7 years in a row, we've not had any increases. So that's a great thing. The other piece to know is, of course, you will be getting a new health insurance ID card because it will be with the Aetna branding. Now, again, still a state health plan, but it's going to have the Aetna branding on it. Again, the insulin will still continue to have a zero copay. The prescription drug coverages under the state health plan, none of that's changing. It's with CVS Caremark. They sort of run all the prescription drug coverages. So again, it's separate from this whole Blue Cross Blue Shield and Aetna piece. The preventative services, kind of wellness type visits, if you will, again, those will remain free as well with no copay or deductible on either plan. You may recall there is something called a clear pricing project, and this is what we call a narrow band network. So there are providers out there in North Carolina who are part of this clear pricing project provider. Now, by seeing these providers, you pay a much less copay. Just as an example, in the last year or so, my primary care provider picked up that I had like a slight heart murmur, and they wanted me to go kind of get this checked out. So I went and had to go work on getting an echocardiogram. So typically I use either UNC or Duke providers. And so, I was looking at, hundreds, if not thousands of dollars because of deductibles and copays and hospital affiliations. Well, I found a clear pricing project network provider who was actually a cardiology group, and it cost me $87 to have my echocardiogram rather than having to go through like a hospital type setting and pay for, deductible, co-insurance and all of that. So again, these are great things to look at as you're picking primary care providers or even looking for specialists. You can always look in that Aetna directory. They'll be indicated as a clear pricing project. Again, much more narrow, not as many providers in that group, but again, a great thing to think about. If you need a joint replacement surgery, there's a great program that the state health plan offers called the Joint Replacement Program. My wife actually had to have a knee replacement surgery. She's also on the state health plan, and it was a $600 copay. That was it. And that was, spending a couple of days in the hospital, everything, $600. So this is a great program too that you'll want to be aware of. We've talked about kind of these in-network providers. You can actually go to the state health plan's website. There's a Find a Doctor webpage. It will now link you into the Aetna network, and you'll be able to see if you want to just go check out, see if your doctors are in there. Always, if you're having some appointments coming up, just talk with your doctors. Hey, are you guys, still going to be part of the state health plan, through the Aetna network? And again, more than likely, you'll find that they are. So we talked about picking 80/20 or 70/30, avoiding that $60 monthly surcharge in the tobacco. And then also keep in mind, if you're adding new dependents to the health insurance, you do need to upload what we call dependent documentation. The state health plan is very particular about these are folks who are truly eligible, like your children, your spouse, that kind of thing. And then finally, the UNC system benefits along with NC Flex. This is everything other than health insurance. So again, this is all done through the UNC system enrollment portal that's in Connect Carolina self-service. And you'll see a number of those plans that are listed there as well. The dental plan will have a slight rate increase going into 2025. And then just as a reminder, the flexible spending accounts, if you want one, dependent flexible spending account for dependent care, childcare, or the health flexible spending accounts, you need to re-enroll every year for flexible spending accounts if you want them. Okay, so that's a very important piece as well. Now, all of these things, again, you'll find them here in this these few web pages. Again, that kind of the how to enroll. So I'm not going to go through line by line on these things, but again, it just kind of walks you through how to use these portals. Again, it's all done through Connect Carolina self-service. There's also phone numbers that you can call to do your enrollment over the phone with the State Enrollment Center or the UNC system enrollment. And then, of course, the tobacco attestation that we talked about is an important piece. If you're in that category, you want to check there. And then finally, kind of for the help, again, there's the state enrollment Center. You'll see, of course, they've got some extended hours during open enrollment. The UNC System Benefits Service Center, those phone numbers are listed there as well. Here at AOB, at UNC Benefits, we're going to be having kind of a walk-in hours 10 to 2 on Fridays during open enrollment. So if for some reason, you just feel like you need to kind of chat with someone or sit with someone, you're welcome to come visit us 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Fridays during the open enrollment time period. All right, that's it for me. Let me know what questions we have. I see several hands and
Several
several chats.
questions. So Audrey first, then Keith, then Arlene, then Rebecca.
Sounds good.
Hi, this was actually really helpful because I've been one of those anxious people. And I have a question specific to me, but I think is probably something that will come up for a lot of folks. So I submit quarterly like a super bill reimbursement to Blue Cross, and they pay me back because my therapist is like out of network. And I'm wondering, I'm assuming there will be a period of time where we have switched to Aetna, but Blue Cross will still be processing a claim for me. Is there like a hard stop on when those submissions will need to happen? Or like, are we confirmed that Blue Cross is going to gracefully exit our lives and like fulfill those processes?
Sure. One of the things that we've heard is that Blue Cross Blue Shield will continue processing claims for up to 1 year. Now, again, these would be claims that are incurred through December 31, 2024. But yeah, Blue Cross Blue Shield will continue processing those for up to 1 year in 2025.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Keith, you're up next.
Hello, Joe.
Hey, Keith.
We all know how I feel about you. We all know.
Thank you.
One of the greatest people ever. So I know that you said if you're in the plan, you default to the 70-30.
Yes.
I think there may be some, say your spouse has a better insurance and you're like, I'm not going to do it. Does that person need to actively go in, and that person will need to actively go in and say, I don't want insurance, correct?
That's correct. That is right. Yeah, if you're in the plan, the state health plan now, again, that default is going to occur 70-30 plan, for the January 1. But if you do want to decline it, you do have to proactively decline that coverage.
Okay.
Now, sometimes what we hear is people will say, well, hey, my spouse has a much better plan. I'm going on my spouse's health plan, but I'm going to keep my state health plan. What you have to remember, though, is the way insurances work. When you have two insurances, your employer coverage will always be primary, and then this other one will always be secondary. So again, the state health plan will have to do its part first before this maybe spouse's plan will, kick in as a secondary coverage.
Okay. And wait a minute, I had something. So can a person drop like mid-year, or do they need a qualifying life event, which I found out that a whole pandemic is not a qualifying life event. But yeah, that's my question.
Okay, yeah. So the IRS, they're the ones, because these are pre-tax plans. So that's why they have kind of purview, and they kind of get involved in health insurance plans and deductions and things. So again, they have a list of qualifying life events like death, birth, marriage, adoption, all those types of things. Are qualifying kind of life events, a spouse, job loss, things like that. So being newly eligible for other coverage. So let's say a spouse gets a new job, has this great health insurance, and you're like, maybe this might be interesting to go on to this. Again, you're newly eligible for coverage. So again, because of that, that would be a qualifying life event. Just, stop your state health plan or other benefits to go into this new plan.
Okay. Thank you. So I can't just do it because it's a Tuesday.
Nope. That's
okay.
correct. That's correct.
Okay. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Arlene, then Rebecca.
This is something that I haven't seen, and I want to know if it's on the radar of the possibility of a flexible elder care spending account.
Yeah, so that's the state of North Carolina. They're the ones that make the decisions about, kind of what are available, what are open. There is, under the dependent daycare, there is actually some opportunity within that for some elder care. There's just a lot of kind of behind the scenes stuff. So if you would like to send me an email, I'm happy to share some more information with you about that.
Great question. Rebecca?
Good morning. Couple of things. One, I wanted to follow up on the question about the transition with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Will there be two separate numbers to call? So if I'm trying to resolve a claim from 2024, and then I also need to address a claim from January 2025, am I going to need to be making two different phone calls?
Yes, you will, because again, there are two separate claims processing units. The one nice thing I'll just say for the 2025 stuff with Aetna is moving to what they call a concierge phone service, which means when you call, that one person you talk to can handle everything. You're not going to be bounced around to 20 different people trying to get an answer to your question. So that's a nice perk, I would say, going in for the Aetna, but you will have those two separate numbers for 2024 claims and 2025 going forward.
Okay. Second and third question kind of go together. Well, for the second isn't really a question, but this is something that I have been investigating for over a year. And I finally have some answers from the system office in regards to gender affirming care. And this is something that has been near and dear to my heart for lots of personal and other reasons. But it took me a very long time, but I did confirm that as it stands now, gender affirming care for adults is covered. It should be for minors, although that is still a question I'm trying to get an answer to. If anybody is trying to find this, if you have employees, coworkers, whatever, who are trying to find this information, it is buried. It is not easy to find. So I just wanted to put it out there that if you look at the 80/20 benefits booklet, it is on page 45 under the section that says what is not covered. Don't get me started on the fact that it's there. I've already vented to somebody about that. But it does have a little footnote that says, in response to a federal court order, the following exclusion will not be enforced so long as the order is enforced. Treatment or studies leading to or in connection with sex changes or modifications and related care. It's horribly phrased, but that's what it is. And this change was effective June 10th, 2022. There is another case for minors that is working through the courts right now, but this refers specifically to the Fourth Circuit, both the panel decision and the en banc decision. That was the en banc decision. Oh, for those aren't in the leading world, that means the entire Fourth Circuit sat and heard this case and affirmed the three-judge panel decision that this must be covered because denying gender affirming care is considered discriminatory. So for those who have individuals on their plans that are seeking gender affirming care, please know that that is covered for adults. You may need to inquire a little further as to what it means for minors. Just putting that out there. In relation to that, if this goes to the Supreme Court or somewhere else and it becomes not covered because the Supreme Court decides differently, is that a qualifying life event that allows me to change my child to another employer health plan with my husband because they are newly eligible for care in that regard for a different health plan, or do I need to proactively move my child now?
I would probably just, based on my experience, move child now, because again, that particular, whether something's covered or not, is not considered a life event, a qualifying life event to make a change in health insurance at that point.
So loss of coverage is not considered a life event because it's essentially a loss of coverage for care they are currently receiving.
Well, the IRS definition is loss of coverage regarding the entire health plan as being, stopped or taken away, kind of a thing. That's not the case. It sounds like here. It's just more particular treatment or particular course of treatment is what would be stopped. And so again, not considered a qualifying life event.
Right. Thank you.
Sure.
We got Jay and then Tiffany.
Thank you. I don't know if this is something you can address, but I just want to be sure it's on our radar screen. The deficit in the state health plan, I think it's 100+ million, maybe going to 200 million in the next couple of years. I hope as a forum, we keep a very close eye on that. The legislature's not seen fit to appropriate any additional money. What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're like you, we're all kind of just sort of watching this. You know, we realize, of course, there's a retiree kind of health insurance, you know, certainly a big liability there as well. And then again, it's the state health plan, you know, they certainly work to, you know, financially to stay solvent. And I think, you know, we will see it staying solvent, but I think it will take some general assembly action to kind of make that happen.
Tiffany?
Can I ask just a super quick
Oh, yeah.
follow-up?
Go ahead, Jane.
Are
Yeah.
we, as a university, concerned enough to be asking our lobbyists to push the legislature to deal with this issue?
To my knowledge, I don't know that that's on that particular legislative agenda or not. I know there's other things on the legislative agendas. Typically, of course, things rolled up from universities to the UNC system to the general, you know, assembly. I don't think that last understanding of that is that that's on the agenda for that.
We could have maybe Becky do some advocacy for us at the UNC system level to see if that could get added as a priority in the legislature.
As a concern, sure.
UNC system, because it's a UNC system-wide issue, not just a UNC-Chapel Hill issue. So,
that's right.
Great question. Tiffany?
Hi, Joe. I have I guess a question / statement. Are you aware that, or it seemingly Blue Cross Blue Shield has started to deny coverage for medications and treatments, and it seems to be retaliatory, like things because we're switching, the state health plan is switching over to Aetna, that the state health, that Blue Cross Blue Shield is now denying people care and medication. I have a very dear colleague who is experiencing this and has been in touch with others who are experiencing this. Is anything being done about that? What avenue or channels do people have in dealing with this? Because it's ludicrous.
Sure. So let me kind of say it this way. One is Blue Cross Blue Shield has nothing to do with drug coverage. So again, that's handled by the state health plan via CVS Caremark. CVS Caremark is what we call the PBM, or the pharmacy benefit kind of manager for the plan. So whether you use Walgreens, Walmart, Target, whoever you use for your pharmacy stuff, it all runs kind of through this CVS Caremark. Now, I will mention to you, and I'm going to pull up, I know I'm still sharing my screen here, and I did it for a reason, because I figured we might need to jump into some things. On the state health plan's website, if you look under employee benefits, we'll just click on a plan here. There's a piece down here that actually gets into on the pharmacy benefit side. Yep, here it is right here. And so there's what we call this comprehensive formulary drug list. Now, the state health plan, like every other health insurance plan out there, they typically review and make changes. And our state health plan changes this list quarterly. So there are occasions where a medication falls off of a formulary, and the formulary means, of course, it's covered under some of these tiers. So I would encourage people, you know, go check this out. There's a preferred drug list, which just means like the generic kind of versions, lower copays. But when you click on this thing, you'll see it's 417 pages. I mean, it's a huge document. So certainly, you know, you can kind of use some search features and those kind of things. But it really kind of gets into, and you'll see just, you know, how extensive it gets. But then it gets into, you know, you name it, and it talks about how it's covered or if it's not covered, those types of things. So that's probably what's happening. I actually had a recent individual who said one of their kind of asthma medications that's been covered for years is all of a sudden not being covered, and they were very upset about that, rightly so, because it works. And I certainly encourage them to talk with their provider, their medical provider, to see, you know, if there's something of an equivalent nature or, you know, something similar that they could use, you know, to treat their asthma. But it was because that medication had fallen off that formulary.
So this situation that I'm thinking about specifically, this coworker or colleague was hospitalized and in network and all the good stuff, and the doctors prescribed medication that seems to be the only thing to fix that issue, but insurance or whomever is refusing to cover that. Like, this is, you know, you spend weeks and weeks and weeks in a hospital because they don't want to cover medication that you can't afford with your state job that you have. And then you're missing out on work. Like, so what do we have, if any, or does that person have any way to push back against this or to fight for herself?
There are some formal appeal processes with the state health plan. Again, under this is the state health plan's website, but if you click under the contact us, it actually has an appeals and grievance kind of piece. So if it's a health insurance type of, issue, something that's perhaps not being covered, there's information about that. There's also the CVS kind of care mark where you can, again, contact them for more information. The prescription drug prior authorization, again, they can kind of help you in these respects as well. But there are appeal processes. And again, a medical review board with the state health plan reviews these appeals as they come up.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
There's some follow-up questions in the chat. Judd, wonder if do we track how many of these drugs have fallen out? Is there an entity within our system that looks at what is falling off, how often it's falling off, it just sounds like it is as an individual, you need to track this 400-page document quarterly with information that you don't understand. And also with that, there's little recourse other than specific one-on-one grievances. As a whole, are we looking at this and seeing how it's impacting our community?
I would say we as the university, ourselves, we are not, just because of the daunting task of this. And again, the other piece of this is, okay, we see this medication that seems like a popular medication has fallen off. There's not a lot of recourse we have to do anything about it. I know the UNC system, certainly they look at things at kind of those higher levels as well. We have had, I know in the past, probably 2 years or so, we've had some pushback where we were able to escalate things to the UNC system. They gave some pushback to the state health plan, and a more popular medication that was all of a sudden just sort of dropped, again, was put back into play. So I think through the UNC system, that's usually our best recourse. But I always encourage people, please reach out, to our benefits office. Just the benefits@unc.edu is a great email to use, and share your concerns with us, and then certainly we can try to escalate those on your behalf.
I'm responding to somebody in the chat. From my understanding, the state health plan board is the one that makes those decisions of what falls off and what doesn't. Is that correct?
That's right.
Is
The
there
Board
a
of Trustees.
mechanism that the UNC system has to advocate with the state health plan board that we should know about, that we could reach out to system contacts and ask that they advocate on our behalves?
Again, I would probably encourage it, come through us. And if you want to just even come to me directly, just joe_williams@unc.edu. I'm happy to kind of help, push those things up and escalate things.
Great. Other questions for Joe? Not that wasn't enough to be
It's
getting.
okay. I know it's a big thing. Health insurance, prescription drug coverage, all these things are very important. And again, we realize that it feels like over the years we've had some diminishing, benefits. And again, we try to do our best. We try to advocate as much as we can, but it's an uphill battle sometimes.
Yeah. State health plan, very complex. All right. Well, thank you so much for providing that super helpful update. Open enrollment's always a busy time of year. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you and your team at those updates next week. Awesome. I believe we've got Jessica Pyjas on the call for our wellness updates. Jessica, I'm going to let you take it away.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Perfect. I will try not to take up too much of your time, but I did want to let you know, if you were able to review the WorkWell newsletter that went out last week, we started the launch of the Total Wellbeing Employee Interest Survey. I'm dropping that link into the chat now. So that is a survey that we use to gauge the top 3 wellness interests of employees across the board. It's particularly useful for our wellness champions, which is a program that has grown this fall. So it's looking at asking what your top 3 wellness interests are, and then depending on what you select, there are additional questions. It took me and my colleague just 6 minutes to complete. It should not take anyone.
Thank you for watching A Healthcare Z.
Oh, okay. It should not take anyone more than 10 minutes to complete. So please do fill that out, and there will be there will be additional promotional information that promotes that link. But it did go out in the newsletter on Friday, so it is available for anyone to take, and it stays open until September 27th, which is the last Friday of the month. And then I hope that everyone enjoyed a no meeting day after Labor Day. We have the second one coming up later this month on Monday, the 23rd. So not too far from now. We are continuing to offer some virtual opportunities to help you pick up new skills, learn new ways to handle things. And so on Monday, the 23rd, we have a session at 11 titled Relaxation Micro Moments, Winding Down Techniques. And then we have a micro meditation session at 12:30. It's a virtual, it's 15 minutes, and that does not require any kind of registration. You can just go to the calendar, click on the link, and start participating. It is only 15 minutes. And then at 2 p.m. that Monday, we have a session titled Managing Staff Through Stressful Situations. So we continue to add to our on-demand library, so I encourage you to check that out. And then also wanted to remind you, of course, of your EAP resources that are available to you. I'm always happy to answer any questions that you might have about that. But there's a great website with a lot of content, and then you always get 3 free sessions with a counselor through the EAP ComPsych program at no cost for you. Three free sessions per year per issue. And if you are interested in learning more how to handle situations and being able to respond to an employee, student, or anyone in your personal life going through a mental health crisis, mental health first aid is still being offered by the School of Social Work. They've already had their first session this fall. I participated in that. If you've completed this training before, it is advised that you do complete it every 3 years to stay active. And the training has changed since the last time that I did take it. But their full schedule is up for the fall. They offer sessions in person as well as virtual. And the calendar is up to date through December 11th. In addition to that, if you and your colleagues, if there are 15 of you that want to schedule your own personal session, you do have that opportunity to do that. And all that information is on the website and was also in the newsletter that came out on Friday. We are continuing on with our traditional Wellness Wednesday webinars for those who like to participate in those. September 21st is World Gratitude Day. So on the 18th, the Wednesday before that, we have a session on gratitude, a skill for happier living. On September 25th, our session is on understanding long-term care insurance. So that may be of interest to some of you. We do offer discounts with long-term care insurance that's available through the Perks Connect program, your employee discount program. So someone will be presenting on the 25th to talk more about resources and different types of long-term care insurance and government programs to help with that. And on October 2nd, our session is Loving You, the Art of Self-Acceptance. Now, some of these things that are trainings you can find in Carolina Talent, but not everything is located in Carolina Talent. The best place to go to for all of our activities, including trainings, is that HR events calendar, which is accessible at the bottom of the HR website or through the Work Life and Wellness drop-down tab at the top. I think the calendar is the last item you can click on. With our Perks and Discounts program, I wanted to point out that if you are a Perks Connect member, you may have noticed this already, you may not have, but they added a tremendous number of digital coupons for local restaurants. They're one-time use. There's no app for Perks Connect like there was originally when we started working with them, but their website is very mobile friendly, so you can easily bookmark it on your phone or save it to your home screen to access it. But some of the participating vendors are Bricks Pizza, Buffalo Wild Wings, Chuck E. Cheese, Domino's, So these are coupons that you can use when you're ready to use them. They're one-time use. So I encourage you to check out that list. It's a lot more extensive than those few that I listed right there. But that was an exciting addition to the Perks Connect discounts. Then we did receive the information for employees to continue to get 20% off on regular tickets for the North Carolina Symphony concerts in both Raleigh and in Chapel Hill. So the promo code is UNCCH, and you can give that code over the phone or visit the website and type that in to start saving if you want to attend a symphony concert sometime this year. And then National Women's Health and Fitness Day is September 25th. So your other discount site, Working Advantage, which is provided by the EAP, they are calling out the health and wellness savings that you have access to, and that's under that shopping deals tab at the top of the page. And then if you are in an area that is eligible to receive something other than Spectrum, like 5G Verizon home internet, employees do get $10 off their monthly plan if they want to switch to Verizon home internet plan. So that is continuing to grow throughout the area. So check with them and see if your address is covered and let them know that you're an employee. And the Verizon internet information is on our regular UNC discount page. Any questions for me? Katie, did anything come through the chat box?
Other than like a comment that there was 53 people on the wait list for the first Leap Well program. That's a lot. Wow. Okay. But no question.
Yeah, that came out in the newsletter as well. So I got in the first cohort, so I'm very excited about that.
Any questions for Jessica or anybody else on the amazing HR team? Any questions for those folks? No? Okay. Well, as always, Jessica, if you'll share those updates with me, I'll get them out in our post-meeting email.
Absolutely. Thank you. Good
Always.
seeing you.
All right, folks, before we turn to the next portion of our agenda, I just wanted to bring back a shout out that I saw in the chat early on in our HR updates. Victoria Dowd, who's on our amazing Ombuds team, got a shout out in the chat about her 30-year work anniversary at Carolina. So just a huge kudos and shout out to Victoria for the amazing years of service here at UNC. We are so happy that you've been with us for so long. That's amazing.
Katie, while you went back to the ombuds, I just wanted to gloat for a minute. This is
the infamous utensil set.
utensils.
Yep.
Yes, that's what I was talking about, Shayna. Yes, I have. Yep. Love
Why
it.
didn't I ever get these? Oh no, I must have missed that.
You gotta be quick. You gotta be quick now, cause
I have
hands be
one.
snatching.
I'll put one up for you, Katie.
Thank you.
And also, there's a department at the university that gives out a green one. So I have two sets.
Keith is just rolling in it over here.
Living the good life. We're eating good over here.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I love it. And congrats, Victoria, on that years of service milestone. Look to see you next week at the celebration on Wednesday.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, next item on our agenda is our consent agenda, which includes our August 2nd meeting minutes, as well as our committee updates. If any committee chairs of forum committees or university committees want to pull out their committees and chat about that live during the meeting, please speak up now and we'll pull those from the consent agenda. Otherwise, we'll work to pass the consent agenda as is. Last call, any committees wanting to provide updates during the meeting? Thanks, Dawn. All right, well, hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
This is Rebecca. I so move.
This is Arlene, I second.
Okay, we'll do this by acclamation. Are there any opposed to the approval of the consent agenda? Hearing none, the consent agenda passes. Thanks, everybody. We don't have any old business to proceed with, so we'll move right along to new business. We do have a proclamation under consideration. I'm going to work on sharing my screen, so give me a few minutes. Okay, where's that? Share. Okay, folks, so a little bit of background for our newer delegates. Every year, there is an event on campus celebrating International Housekeepers Week, which is coming up next week, I believe. The 8th through the 14th. So it's like right now, but the celebration on campus is Friday, September 20th. So perfect timing during this International Housekeepers Week to look at this proclamation and potentially pass it. So with that said, I'm going to read through it and then we'll consider any discussion. Okay. Proclamation of the Employee Forum, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, September 13th, 2024. Whereas UNC-Chapel Hill housekeeping services staff support the university's mission of teaching, research, and public service. And whereas UNC-Chapel Hill housekeeping services employees are integral to maintaining campus function. And whereas UNC-Chapel Hill housekeeping services staff provide a professional, clean, safe, and sanitary environment for members of the university community. And whereas the Employee Forum once again recognizes UNC-Chapel Hill housekeeping services for going above and beyond in response to the emergency incidents that occurred on campus on August 28th, 2023 and September 13th, 2023. And whereas September 8th through 14th, 2024 is recognized as International Housekeepers Week. And whereas UNC-Chapel Hill is recognizing this occasion on Friday, September 20th, 2024. Therefore, be it proclaimed that the Employee Forum recognizes the invaluable contribution of housekeeping services staff and wishes to extend its appreciation for their continued efforts. Signed, Katie Musgrove, Chair. That's the proclamation, just an update for new folks as well. We usually have a 2 reading rule for our resolutions, but proclamations are only bound by a 1 reading rule. So this is just going to be based off 1 reading. But given I've fully read it, do I hear a motion to consider the passage of Proclamation 24-01 as written?
This is Eliza and I so move. Or you can call me Liz or Elizabeth, don't care. I move.
I second.
Okay.
Before we vote, looks like Sarah G has her hand up.
Yes, I'm going to move into discussion given I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion around Proclamation 24-01? Sarah, your hand's up.
Yeah, so I'm new and my concern with this is that I just don't get it. I don't see how this is helpful or important or valuable to these employees. I would love to hear from someone on the housekeeping services staff to see if they feel that our actions are matching this appreciation that we are claiming.
And I guess that one other piece of context I don't provide is that at the celebration next Friday, at the 3 different shift celebrations, a member of the Employee Forum, either myself or someone else, goes and reads this proclamation and gives in person our kudos and appreciation to all of the work that they do live during the celebration. So that's one piece of it as well that I didn't mention. But I'm open to hearing from our housekeeping delegates.
Katie, this is James. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, go ahead, James.
I'd like to respond to that from my perspective of the years of being here as a manager on 3rd shift and 1st. I do feel that some of the university lives up to that. I won't say the whole university, but the response that I have seen over the years has been pretty positive. Athletics will donate some things for the celebration, the dinner, lunch, and breakfast. Other departments will as well, t-shirts, stuff like that. It just depends year to year. Some of the students here in the dorms will write letters to the housekeepers, thanking them or offering them breakfast or something like that. Usually I like to take the whole group out to eat that works under me, but yesterday they decided one building wanted to go to breakfast, the other building we're going today to lunch, and that was fine because it's their time. But I have seen a pretty positive response, but I won't say everyone knows about it or everyone shares in it. I was waiting until this proclamation was read and possibly passed to send it out to the CDs, in my buildings. But I think it's been pretty positive. I think James Holman's on the call, and I don't want to put him on the spot, but I'd like to get his perspective, but that is mine.
Is James on the call?
Yes, I'm on the call.
Hi, James. Hi, the other James.
I think this is a good thing. I've been here almost 20 years. It's been done every year. And I think the employees, housekeeping staff really appreciates the recognition from the employee forum. So,
And I'll say as chair the past several years, I think this is resolutions and proclamations are one of the only ways our body has a way to formally say something and speak as one voice. And I think given all of the work we do throughout the year in advocacy towards our amazing housekeepers and other employees across campus, I think if there's a celebration honoring these folks, I think it's helpful to lend our voices in a public way and fashion to share our appreciation in this way. So.
Yeah,
And
Katie,
yes.
just like to, this is Wendy, I'd just like to
Go
add
ahead,
that.
Wendy. Yes.
So I'd like for housekeepers to be appreciated every day of the year, but this is a nice way to highlight their work. This will be my first year celebrating it here. This is something other universities do during this particular week. Different universities do different things, but I think the proclamation will be a nice thing to share at the events on next Friday. And like I said, I'm looking forward to that. We'll be having 3 different meals to celebrate so we can catch all the different folks at the times where they're on campus. But please make sure to, if you have a housekeeper in your building, over these next couple days, it's a great time to remember to appreciate all that they do for us.
Definitely. And looking forward to seeing you next week. I'll be at 2 of the 3, and I think Rebecca has volunteered as tribute to attend on my behalf for the 3rd. So looking forward to seeing you all then and celebrating our amazing housekeepers. And then there was a comment in the chat that a capitalization. So I did capitalize university in the first reference. So I did correct that. Let's see. Just scrolling through the chat. And yes, I wanted to kind of lift up something Annetta said, and it's not related to the proclamation, but James Holman, our very own James Holman, was honored with the Scenic Honor, the President's Award at the Scenic Convention this past week. So giving a huge kudos to James on that statewide recognition for the amazing work you do for Scenic. You are a powerful influence in that organization. We really appreciate all the work you do and all the work Scenic does on our behalf.
thank you.
Other discussion around Proclamation 24-01 concerning International Housekeepers Week. Hearing none, I'll call the issue. We have a motion on the floor. We'll do this by voice vote, so you'll have to unmute yourself. Only delegates can vote, please. And Jacob, can you just ensure we do have a quorum? I believe we do. All in favor of the passage of Proclamation 24-01 concerning International Housekeepers Week, please unmute yourself and say aye as
Aye.
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 Aye, and Katie, I think Jacob had to drop off the call. I'm not sure if he's
Okay.
still on the call.
I believe we have a quorum just based on a quick tally of
It looks
numbers.
like we do looking at the attendance sheet.
Yeah. Any opposed to proclamation 24-01? Any abstaining?
Katie, I can't remember if
Yes.
we need to suspend the rules to get this through on just one reading.
No, proclamations only require one.
Okay, that's right. I forgot, not resolution.
Yeah. All right. Well, with all of that, proclamation 24-01 has passed. Thank you all for your consideration of this. And again, both myself and Rebecca, I think Rebecca, you're attending what, the first one in the morning, and then I'm attending the lunch and the dinner celebrations.
I think that's right. That's what's on my calendar.
Next Friday. So looking forward to sharing this with our amazing housekeepers. But again, as Wendy mentioned, please do kind of lift up and give kudos to all of our amazing housekeepers across campus as you see them, and thank them for their amazing work. Yeah. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. We'll get that posted on the website and sent out in the post meeting email. All right, that does it for new business. We're going to turn to announcements and questions. The two upcoming various meetings we've got coming up, we've got a staff advisory committee to the Chancellor's STAC meeting on November 5th. November seems crazy far away at this point, but it's really not in the grand scheme of things. October always goes by so quickly. And then a Vice Chancellor representatives meeting also in November on November 14th from 2 to 3 p.m. Those are my two announcements, but I want to end as we usually do with It Takes a Village highlights and kudos from everyone. So feel free to raise your hand, unmute yourself. I just like to kind of center ourselves and come back to kind of words of affirmation and sharing various amazing things that are happening across campus and lift up the work staff are doing in this forum. So opening up the floor to any of that, any kudos or highlights, but also if anyone wants to bring anything to the floor, we'll spend about 10 minutes doing that. Liz, Eliza.
I want to give huge shout outs to the people that organized the football event. Keith, everybody, Katie. I think Shayna could speak on my behalf about how thrilled my family and I were. And I am not a sports fan. I just outed myself. But that was one of the most amazing experiences I have had in a long time. And I'm so grateful. I was like a 7-year-old girl. And that band, I'm going back, even if it's not a game, just to hear the band. I hope they do that all the time. Thank you. Thank you from my family so much. Oh, and if anybody wants to organize a group to kvetch and maybe move forward on advocacy for drug coverage issues, put me at the top of the pile.
Two very different topics, but yes, it was a really great event, and a kudos to Keith and Tiffany for doing the bulk of the legwork there, but really Bubba and Michael from athletics came up with that amazing idea, and we're so appreciative that they thought of us and wanted to recognize us and host a tailgate for us. It was a great opportunity for the employee forum to come together and socialize and celebrate and cheer on the Tar Heels. It ended up being beautiful weather, a little hot, but it was good. And a shout out to Rebecca too for bringing all of the amazing sporting equipment. I think all the kiddos had a blast hanging out with us. And the food, as always, was delicious. So shout out to JMS Catering there too. Others?
Shout out to Katie. You are awesome.
Oh, you're so sweet, David. Thank you. A shout out to Shayna on a job amazing, well done, as Lee already kind of gave you some kudos earlier in the meeting, but speaking to Board of Governors on our behalf yesterday, go listen to her remarks. I think they might be up now. I need to go look, but she did so great, as always.
Thank you. And I just want to mention that I made a point to highlight one of our former employee forum delegates. So please do go listen to the remarks, because there's a story about staff interaction with leadership, and it's regarding one of our very own, Alan Moran, and we're super proud of him and what he's done.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of give some similar highlights and kudos to this person and really the program that came out of really one of these meetings several years ago has now come to fruition. So I'm going to chat about that with our Board of Trustees next week. I get to address them during the University Affairs meeting on Wednesday. And yes, I can definitely include Shayna's remarks or link to the video. I think it's up now, but I have to go check.
I just put the link in the chat.
Awesome. Anyone else? If not, I'm going to give y'all about 15 minutes of your day back. I really love ending the meetings on these notes because all of the amazing stuff sometimes gets buried in all of the craziness that's happening. So it's always a good opportunity to show each other some love and really just center ourselves in the work we're doing to advance and benefit staff. So thank you all for all of your hard work. Looking forward to maybe having some more hybrid meetings, more in-person opportunities to come together throughout this coming year. So we'll chat about that at executive committee and plan for potentially doing that a couple of times more throughout the year. But Liz?
I'm going to have to show appreciation for Rebecca's hat.
Rebecca's hats are legendary.
Right here. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Rebecca is a hat person. So.
Friday hat day.
Awesome. Y'all have a very fantastic weekend. Looking forward to seeing y'all sometime soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.
See y'all. Have a good weekend. Enjoy your Friday the 13th.
Oh, yeah, it is Friday the 13th. Ooh.
Great job, Kate.
Thanks, everybody. Matt, let me know if you need anything, but otherwise I'm signing off.
Very good.
Bye, folks.
Bye.
Folks still on the call, I'll wait about another minute and then I'll shut down the meeting. So be forewarned.
Have a good weekend, Matthew.
You too, Rebecca. Take care.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you, Tina, for the work on the captioning. Great work.
Thank you, Matt, for putting out the information each and every day.
It's my work, my pleasure. I'm glad to have a chance to work for the university and for the forum. I believe in it.
Great.
I hope you were doing well, David.
Yes, sir. Everything's going good. Enjoying UNC.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm thrilled. Whoops, pardon me. Yes, Katie. All right, folks, I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down. Take care all. Hope you have a good day.